This is a video reply to Allie from Allie's Zen Zone, Relaxing with Allie, and Chilling with Allie. This is attempt number 3 to make a video. The first attempt, which by the way I have the first 2 on my phone, but I'm not releasing those. The first one, I realized how much I was rambling in it. So as a part of me thinking, you know what, maybe I should think out what I'm going to say before I go ahead and try to record again. And then the second one, because of the factor I've actually been run pretty ragged the past few days. Yeah, adulting. Pretty much the entire video, my eyes were barely open. I seemed like I was drifting off to sleep because I was just run ragged. So, yeah, this is attempt 3. Alright, so a few things I wanted to go ahead and cover. Number 1. I wanted to go ahead and comment on the whole being a few people's guardian angel thing. You make it hard to be conceived as heartless, the way that I've been perceived by individuals, when you've figured out how to be able to tug on those heartstrings and, make me think like, fuck. Like, the very situation that I don't want to get involved in, because I was clearly told to mind the business that fucking pays me, and, don't get involved, make me want to get involved. So, I just want to say, not cool. Like, it's so weird somebody seeing right through me the way that I see through other people. Like, I understand the whole level of vulnerability thing now. It's weird. And another thing too, by the way. The whole cards, the tarot cards thing, the way you put it, like, it's cards with pictures on it and everything. Yeah. Funny thing is, to kind of keep sharp with my own personal ability to read people and ability to read in general, I don't, those cards, I view them as a prop. Alright? Ironically enough, whenever I end up viewing anybody who's doing tarot videos or anything, I'm reading the person. And the funny thing is, my level of accuracy tends to be pretty scary, apparently. I know you were commenting on how serious and how dangerous doing any type of spiritual work can be, and it's true, Funny thing is, any spiritual work that I end up doing, ironically enough, anybody that was wondering how far back, getting to learn about spirituality as a whole, and where that desire stemmed from and started from, funny thing is, ironically enough, childhood. Alright? But the funny thing is, my reason that I wanted to learn about spirituality was for a totally different reason. I viewed it potentially as the doorway to be able to learn how to do a Kamehameha wave. So, when people end up going ahead and making, like, cult leader jokes and everything, I end up thinking to myself, like, in a way, it is cult shit. But it would be more of the cult of Akira Toriyama. So, just a little personal joke I got on that one, because, I do take my personal beliefs very seriously, you know? If anything, I went to go learn about Reiki, I went to go learn about Qigong. Technically, I ended up being considered a Reiki master. So that's a little something I don't know if you knew. But yeah, I think I started researching like 6 or 7 years old, which would mean 29, 30 years of forming my own beliefs, and that being based on also growing up in church and, noticing contradictions in the Bible and people getting pissed off. Like, there are no contradictions in the Bible. And it's like, no, you need to stop perceiving the Bible as perfection. Because ultimately, the Bible is a collection of tellings from individuals throughout biblical times. There are no first-hand witnesses to the events or the potential embellishments based on individuals' perception, and the level of awe that they're in when retelling those events, or the potential to play up said events. So that's just something that I wanted to go ahead and point out, because ironically enough, when I end up going ahead and telling that ends up being a deal breaker for some people, you know? And the funny thing is, in the spiritual community, uh, I've kind of ended up earning my own reputation, and it's not a bad one either. It really isn't, you know? It's more of like, where did this person, where did this person come from? Like, where did that happen? But I didn't see that coming. And it's like, ironically enough, when people end up going ahead and mentioning certain individuals, like, for example, all right, when people end up going ahead and mentioning Hecate, all right, funny thing is, I know who that individual actually is, and that person ended up going ahead and being intrigued and learning a little bit about spirituality from me back in the I want to say early 2010s. So ultimately, if she is surpassed the bit that I taught her, you know, kudos, congratulations, you know. Ironically enough, the level that I was at before the coma and the level that I'm at now after the coma are two significantly different levels. I kind of look at the coma as kind of like Goku and Vegeta training in the time capsule. My coma experience was very different, very odd, and ended up doing some good, you know. Actually, it ended up going ahead the empirical data from me getting out of my coma and actually being able to pull through in ways that I shouldn't have been able to. Like, for example, technically I should be a quadriplegic. Like, not being able to move from the waist down, so, or the neck down, so. But, yeah, damaged the spine. But that's part of the reason for the walking with the cane thing. But there's a lot of things, if I were to attempt to go ahead and try to explain to you, would either be mind-boggling or unbelievable. Extremely remarkable, though. And it's not even one of those, like, excuse me. It's not even one of those things as any perceived superiority or anything. It quite literally is just different, you know? But I've had a lot hit over the past few days. Ironically enough, one of the things that I'm glad at least that was a bullet dodge was yesterday I thought my PlayStation broke. Didn't break though. So happy about that, considering, one of the things that I actually do that ends up pulling me a little bit in from time to time financially is competitively gaming. You know? Ironically enough, when it comes to video games, like for example, for years before the internet ended up really being mainstream and everything, I ended up being one of the contributors to one of the first Pokemon speedruns. Now that's gotten completely out of hand and different, but I digress. But I've also gone and done, quite a few different, for example, like charity marathon gaming sessions. But I am so sorry. Yeah, but I've also had to go ahead and attempt to prevent a few things from gaining momentum as far as malicious intentions directed towards my way, you know? And also want to go ahead and clarify that boundary noted, boundary respected. I know you went to go clarify, like, you know, you don't do personal readings, you know? Your personal interaction, you limit it for your own personal reasons. And ultimately boundaries are important. The only people that don't like boundaries are manipulative people that have no intention or desire to respect them. And if they're not, willing to go ahead and respect those boundaries, what good could really come entertaining them? So, funny thing is, even with the desire that I've had to be like, hey, it would be pretty chill to actually get to go ahead and have a conversation with you that, is not just an open conversation for everyone to hear, and actually get to chat more on a personal level. Clarifying the fact that you maintain those boundaries for the reason of, not wanting to, feeling it being too risky. It's good to know where the boundary lies on that. Because, I'm not gonna lie, you're end goal. Like, you really are. You know? And the reason for it is actually pretty ironic. I hope you know when you address me, You're willing to come at me in a way that I wouldn't tolerate from anybody. But it's not out of a place of maliciousness. I know that, you know? But I'll literally be here and be like, damn, she's literally here going ahead and telling me about myself, leaning in. And I'm just like, I hope you know I'm tolerating you coming at me in a way that I wouldn't tolerate from most people, from many people at all, you know? I do, though, because when you do, you're not wrong. You are not wrong with what you end up saying. Hence the whole, so this is what I do to people? Like, when I end up going ahead and, reading them, this is what I do. So this is that uncomfortable feeling that ends up going ahead and making people question, beneficial, but make me feel vulnerable and self-conscious. But beneficial. But I don't like that feeling. Which ends up going ahead and reminding me growth is uncomfortable. Have to embrace it. But also, just so you know, with the situation you were talking about that had, a few different kids ending up being failed because every adult in the situation that I'm repulsed by them. Yeah, you definitely read that situation right. And I hope I don't come off like a dick saying this, but I have no intention to help those people that went and dug their own grave get out of it. So, and I understand their kids will end up going ahead and being innocents in the situation, and me not liking the thought of innocence ending up as collateral damage, But my personal reason that I can't be willing to put myself into the situation and attempt to help again is because that last murder attempt, they tried hard. I mean, there was quite literally 3 murder attempts in a 9-month period that year. So it's just like, all right, you know what? Fuck me, right? Like, you wanted me dead. You didn't see me being capable of serving a purpose, or you didn't see that I did serve a purpose. So, you wanted me dead. If you would have succeeded at killing me, I would have not been around to be able to assist you to help get you out of this fucking situation that you got yourself in by relentlessly attempting to murder somebody. Attempting to have them ostracized, attempting to have them persecuted. So you did a lot of damage now, and it's like, I see how much damage, and I'm dealing with a little bit of damage too, and kind of need your help. Oh, but I thought I didn't have leadership qualities. I thought I didn't bring anything to the table. I thought I was arrogant, egotistic, and ultimately just glory seeker. Hmm? Oh, but now you're getting to see how much weight I carried in the entire situation. Which, to be honest, a bit of that is my fault too, because when somebody doesn't realize how much of the weight you're carrying for them, it's easy to end up going ahead and taking that individual for granted, or the contribution that they end up playing into not only the individual's life, but, into their entire dynamic. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I just woke up, so the yawns are gonna keep hitting. I hadn't even lit the cigarette that I pulled. I was just literally waving it around, but no, but I do want to say in everything that boundary respected, boundary maintained, you know. And I'll be honest with you, there's a huge part of me that has interest in you as an individual, as a person. And I recognize that you could end up holding significance in my life, should the opportunity ever arise. But at the same time, too, I also recognize the factor that, you know, you being alone and, the way you do things, it's your personal choice. It's not like you don't have the option, you know? It's that you know yourself that thoroughly that you don't need anybody, you know? And a lot of the times when you take a chance on anybody, you tend to come to regret it. Let's be real, people be giving you reasons to go ahead and regret it. Like, I get it. I really do, you know? So, in that aspect and everything, it's like nothing could end up going ahead and seeing how things progress and in which direction, you know, because of boundaries that ended up getting established, but those very boundaries are for the very specific reason, for that very specific reason. So, you know, ultimately, the only reason that anybody would end up going ahead and breaking those boundaries would be because of, them having ulterior motives, you know? And that ulterior motive being not respecting the direction or trajectory of which you would like any interpersonal dynamic, or feeling like, maybe I could go ahead and coerce things or manipulate things to go in the direction of which I desire, which is a very selfish fucking motivation, and ultimately anybody that has those motivations, automatically their intentions should be questioned, you know? I mean, shit, it doesn't matter when you're an adult, stranger danger is still a fucking thing. But I just wanted to let you know, if there was any part of you that was wondering if I'm like disengaging or pulling back or, you know, basically if me not going ahead and replying was any type of game or anything, no, it was not. Life's been hitting the past few days. I've just had to go ahead and roll with the punches. So. And by the way, too, I want to go ahead and clarify. Yesterday, you came in clutch on a level I don't even think you know. I had to go ahead and reveal, like, yeah, I've got the stuff to literally go ahead and make a Molotov cocktail. That if, of the individuals harassing me, if they were to cross that line, they would need to want it bad enough, or their jealousy and envy to be so strong, because of wanting to quote unquote win at all cost. It's like, well, understand getting set on fire is a cost. So, yeah, I had to go ahead and establish a heavy boundary of like, hey, that smash and grab that you wanted to go ahead and plan, you're going to want to call that off. Because if you think you're just going to run into the place, guns a-blazing, just understand. I'm pretty sure Molotov cocktail beats gun. So, and yes, I'm willing to escalate it to a war crime. Which that lets me know I've still got work to do. But funny thing is too, you ended up mentioning about a ex that you had that would end up going ahead and, playing video games and yelling at the screen and everything. I do that. But keep in mind, me doing that is literally a therapeutic tool. I was actually told, like, hey, when you get pissed off and you're having to go ahead and fight that adrenaline rush that, comes from that fight or flight instinct and that fight wanting to come out, grab a controller, just let it out at the screen. Somebody pisses you off and everything, go ahead and superimpose that person's face, mentally on a character from whatever game and just let it rip, you know? And ironically enough, anytime I end up doing that, it does actually calm me down. So, I'm one of those people like, could end up going ahead and fighting with, and if your response ends up being like, listen, sit the fuck down on the couch, go ahead and grab a controller, I'm gonna go ahead and grab us some snacks right quick. And then I'll come grab a controller and I'll whip your ass in the game. Okay. Ironically enough, hence as a conflict resolution tool, it has a substantial success rate. So I want to go ahead and point that out, being like, damn, like, apparently I'm psycho because of, being told by a therapist to go ahead and use that video game as, a channel to be able to release any type of pent up aggression from anything not being vocalized or having a difficulty vocalizing what it is that's causing that level of escalation. But I just wanted to go ahead and give you a reply. Uh, didn't want you to think that I was avoiding you or anything. Life really has, over the past few days, pretty much come with a force. So, I appreciate you not being upset about it. Or if you are upset about it and you haven't vocalized that, I can't blame you, but I want to let you know I can't help when life be lifing. So, whenever that ends up happening, I don't want you to think that either A, I'm being avoidant or dismissive, or B, that you did anything to go ahead and trigger that, dismissive or avoidant perception, you know? But anyway, I really appreciate the factor that you've still actually released videos and still addressed me, regardless of, the lack of reply, which, by the way, I'm usually not the type that, would end up going ahead and reconsidering, am I gonna put that out or am I gonna redo it? Redoing a video 3 times is not usually what I do. I usually just let it roll and how it, however the chips fall, the chips fall.